paper.
All right. Can you start all over? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All right, ready.
A long time ago, when Jo Dawson was managing editor of the paper, of course he later became publisher, and we had a brouhaha between the copy desk and the city desk. This was before your time on the Journal. And I've forgotten who instigated, but there were a couple of reporters that were in on it, the city editor, and they thought we were butchering their copy right and left, and were up in arms about it. So Doster called this meeting between the copy desk and a couple of these reporters and the city editor, whose name I won't mention right now. And he said, well, the reporters reiterated about how much we've been butchering their copy and all that kind of stuff. And Doster stopped them finally after listening for a few seconds, and he said, yeah, but how many times did they say your ass? And it was great silence. And the answer, I think, to them was, oh, hell, I don't know. Never paid any attention to that kind of thing. But I thought that was sort of summed up the existence of the copy desk and all the things that it's done over the years. It's a thankless job. You catch a lot of things. You don't go around and say, hey, I caught that, you screwed it up. You know, they go ahead and change it and go about their business. And of course they do screw things up from time to time and make grievous errors. But as Doster said, how many times did they save your ass?
When did you start at the Journal, and were you always, oh, I'm sorry.
Can I go turn the phone off?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
So tell me when you started at the Journal.
1965,
Okay.
September 6th.
Did you go straight onto the desk? Was that your?
No, I started out as a sports writer.
Okay.
And was a sports writer for 4 years. Then worked the sports desk some and sort of got into copy desk work by laying out the sports section, writing headlines and that kind of thing. Decided upon the advice of an old professor at Chapel Hill who said, if you're still in sports when you're 30 years old, you're dead. And I took that to heart for some reason, but probably not true. But yeah, I went into copy desk work in about 1971, I guess.
And when did you start, Joe?
Start what? Start
It's at the Journal.
at the Journal in, well, actually, while I was still at Salem College, I was drafted by Mamie Brady, the police reporter for the Sentinel, to let her know what was going on campus, and I was just she sort of just liked me. So I started then, in fact, because I actually got a story on the front page of the Sentinel while I was still at Salem, and it was about the May Queen, who was the May Queen that year. Because I was willing to write it, and Mamie said, fine, you do it. But they actually gave me byline, which was very exciting, because I knew from the day I could read that copy editing was what I wanted to do, or editing and writing is what I wanted to do, and so the door just opened because I happened to be next to the paper. And
How long did you all work together?
whenever 86 when the Sentinel closed.
85.
85, yeah, because I started on the Sentinel, and then when the Sentinel closed, I was one of the people that they invited to come over to the Journal. So about half my time, I guess, was spent on the Sentinel.
Did you ever run into people in the community who didn't really know what the copy desk did, or
Always.
how would you describe what the copy desk does?
Yeah, no, why don't you do it?
Well, it's kind of hard actually, but they write headlines, they lay out the paper, they try to catch all the style and grammatical errors they can catch, and perfect the paper, and make it as good as it can be.
That's right. My feeling always was that the purpose of a newspaper is to inform people about what's going on so they can be better citizens. I know that sounds idealistic, but that's true. And I've always felt the copy desk enabled that by making sure that what we printed was clear, correct, and readable, and even enticing, without going too far with cutesiness,
Now, before Charlie came, you talked about when you walked in the door at the paper, it has always been known as having high standards for copy editing or good reputation.
Of course, yeah. And it had, I think, anywhere anybody you talk to who read the paper back in the 60s and 70s would say that it was really a top-notch paper for one our size, don't you think, John?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Wallace Carroll set the standards.
Yeah, he did. And we had so many wonderful writers back then. Many of them went on to do, lots of other things, and that was fun. But we had the benefit of having them there. I was a new person, had Tom Wicker, was there, and he caught me doing something silly. He would write me a little note, saying, Roy Thompson used to write me a little note saying, Bossa Nova is not spelled the way you did, sweet Joe, It's this way. I was always trying to show off how sophisticated I was. But I appreciated that so much, I was told once by somebody on the staff, hey, did a pretty good job with that Tanglewood play review, but you should never write a review without saying who the director was. Oh my gosh, that little. But they were very serious about it. It wasn't just picky. It was the standards were so high that you knew that if you wanted to stay there, you needed to learn the rules and stick to them, because consistency impresses readers. If they read something different every time they pick up the paper, they say, "Is this a new staff? Who's doing this?"
Yeah, or have it spell a word one way on one page and another way.
Right, or in the story and another way in the headline. There's just. Yeah.
What did you all like about copy editing the most? Because the hours, always were just. What did you love about that part of journalism? Because for me, it wouldn't appeal to me at all, just because. But I know that some people, it's just,
Well, one thing about it is you put out a paper each day, and you don't ever miss a day. But if you screw it up, you can always come back the next day and do a better job. And there's something about that appealed to me, and just the organization of it, and the thrill of putting out a newspaper, I thought was great, and still do.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And unlike reporting, which I did for the first 5 years I was at the paper, you never or sit around waiting for a phone call. You don't have things hanging out when you go home in the evening. Once you're done, you have finished, mistakes or not, and so it's a good feeling. If you see what it's a great satisfaction to meet the deadline, see what you've done, and in the process to get to read all this wonderful stuff and make sure that it's clear, and well done.
Well, it's the same thing as reporters saying their story in print. Boy, that's something.
What do you think is the paper and the community? What are they losing by not having a copy desk anymore? What's lost there?
Well, it's inconceivable to me that this has happened. I never thought I'd see the day that the Winston-Salem Journal or any other newspaper worth its salt would not have its own copy desk to dot the I's and cross the T's and recognize the names of streets in Winston-Salem and that kind of thing. But just to lose touch and have somebody in another town putting out your newspaper with nobody who's had any history with the Winston-Salem Journal there to help them along is just amazing. I can't believe it. But it's a loss to not only the journal as a whole, but to the Winston-Salem and all the readers who have ever read the journal, and I don't know what else to say.
Y'all have anything else you might want to add?
One of the things I was thinking about, and this is just, I don't want to be talking about the good old days, but one of the things I was thinking about knowing you were coming was what the computer did to the copy desk in terms of what's important to me, and that is that sense of community that you have on the copy desk, that you really are a team,
Well, I think that disappeared almost
with
the advent of the new newsroom.
Yeah.
Where they spread everybody out. you know, you can't talk to this fellow over here because he's too far away without yelling at him. And so you're reduced to sending him a message about something, and by the time you send it back and forth, you could have done it 10 times.
That's right.
And I think that camaraderie got lost.
Yeah,
then.
and that's something that was nice for us. It probably, the public never knows the difference, but it really was an important part of the early years for me on the Sentinel. And then when I went to the Journal, you were sitting so close together that you could, well, back in before computers, you'd type out a headline, you say, God, that's awful, and you hand it to the person next to you and say, literally, and say, there's a better head here, help me with this. You know, that
And
kind
we used
of,
to help each other a lot,
Oh, yeah.
and copy editors work with reporters too.
yeah, oh yeah, you could always just call somebody up and say, let's go, this sentence is a little fussy, you know.
And now there's so much territory involved
Yeah.
that causes hard feelings for some reason.
So the team aspect of the copy desk has been changed, as it has in every office in the country, no matter what the profession. But I think it hurts those of us like you who work at night. You know, at least you had that. You had your team with you. You know, if you had to work till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, midnight, and that made it not quite so not lonely. You know. And of course, on the Sentinel, we started at 6 o'clock in the morning. That was another kind of camaraderie because everybody walk in, you know, their orange juice or coffee, cigarettes and smoke all over the copy desk. That was not good, but that's the way it was. But still, you know, 1 or 2 o'clock, you had done your job and you had a nice afternoon to go play tennis, you know, whatever. So those were the good old days for me.
And one thing I'd like to say too is that it's been a great privilege for me to have worked with so many dedicated professional copy editors over the years, paginators, people who actually gave a damn, and that continues today. The ranks have been diminished by one thing or another, but it has been a true privilege for me, and I'll never forget the folks I worked with through the years.
Yeah, me too. And there are a lot of characters. Newspapers are notorious for attracting certain kinds of people, and it's true. You know, and copy editors are among the most dedicated because of hours, as you said. They don't get to, you know, close up at 6 o'clock and go play. You know.
Right. It requires a lot of dedication and professionalism just to be a successful copy editor, I think.
Yeah, it does. I don't know of anything in the world I enjoy doing more.
No.
You know, even now, if somebody handed me something, said, could you read this for me as an application to college? I said, oh yes, I'd love to, you know. And that doesn't mean I can do it better. It just means I think I've learned how to pick up things that would sound better, read better, be more accurate, you know, if I could just suggest. Anyway, not much call for that anymore, right?
Doesn't seem to be.
Nope. We're an extinct profession.
Great. Thank you all so much. All these interviews have been really...
Who else have you interviewed?
Well, I talked to Karen Parker and